it's always been the subject of divorce or remarriage. My only concern, even though y'all know me, I don't mind giving out the truth, because even though you give out the truth when somebody has false teaching, false doctrine, they ain't gonna get it anyway. So I need for you, Israel, to know. Did y'all hear what I said? Yes, sir. I need for you to know the truth. We're actually going to talk about the subject from the New Testament perspective. And we're going to go back and get a little bit of the old, but I want you to all get your pens right now, get your sheet of paper, or get your phones and get ready to take notes. All right? Because I'm only here to inform Israel. All right? So there's a doctrine out in the world that says that if you get divorced, you cannot get remarried. If you get divorced, this is this doctrine, okay, in Christianity. If you get divorced and your spouse, husband, wife, is still alive, you have to wait for them to pass on, die, before you can remarry. That's this false doctrine. Even if your husband or wife goes out and lays or gets remarried 3 or 4 times, they still say that you have to wait on them because they're still living. Y'all need to know this stuff, because this stuff been out there for a long time. I used to deal with this stuff. Then we used to deal with this stuff with Mary Street Church of God when they got that doctrine. They got young men sitting up in that church now.
This is James 5, 16th chapter, 16th verse. Therefore, confess your sins to one another and pray for one another so that you may be healed. The prayers of a righteous person is very powerful and is effective. All right, and this is the Christian Standard Version of the scriptures. But when you do wrong, it's best to just admit you did wrong. All right, and stop trying to find ways to justify the wrong that you did. All right, and I'm pretty sure that Pastor Dow understands this completely and know that he done wrong, and he just full of that pride and just don't want to confess his shortcomings. All right, this is Genesis, the 3rd chapter, and I'm gonna start at the 8th verse. The man and his wife heard the sound of the Lord Yahweh walking in the garden at the time of the even breeze, and they hid from the Lord Yahweh among the trees of the garden. And I'm gonna do a lesson going into the trees. I've seen the brother Carm did a beautiful lesson going into the trees, and mine's gonna be completely different. But like I'll be telling people, these scriptures got more than one way to break down. All right, and it doesn't necessarily because you got a different breakdown. It doesn't necessarily mean another breakdown that you heard was wrong. That's how this book is written, and it's just how the Spirit moves through this book. All right. So the Lord Yahweh called out to men and said to him, "Where are you? Where are you?" All right. And he said, "I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid myself." All right. Then he asked, "Who told you you were naked? Did you eat from that tree that I commanded you not to eat from?" That's going into that tree of knowledge, right? The man replied, "The woman you gave to me, she gave me some fruit from the tree, and I ate." So, instead of, the man confessed, he put it on the woman. So the Lord God asked the woman, "What have you done?" All right. And the woman said, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." All right. So, everyone passing the blame down, but the man should have just took responsibility for doing wrong and confessed to the Lord and asked for forgiveness immediately. So the Lord Yahweh said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, you are cursed more than any livestock, more than any wild animal. you will move on your belly and eat dust all the days of your life. And I will put hostility between you and the woman, all right, between Israel and that serpent seed, all right, and between you, your offspring, and her offspring, all right. He will strike your head, and you will strike his heel. And he said to the woman, I will intensify your labor pains, and you will bear children with painful effort, and your desire will be for your husband, that he will rule over you. And he said to the man, because you have listened to your wife, and ate from the tree about which I have commanded you, do not eat from it. The ground is cursed because of you, and you will eat from it by means of painful labor all the days of your life. And I will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. Alright, so everyone had to get a punishment for the role that they played in this. You will eat bread by the sweat of your brow. You will return to the ground, since you were taken from it. For you are dust, and you will return to dust. So it means, because of sin, everyone got to die. Alright? Alright, now. Okay, now let's get into this, and this is going to be a real short, easy lesson. Alright, and pretty much, I'm going to be honest, I believe Pastor Dodd know he wrong. It's just sometimes hard to have that ability to just say you're wrong. And this is also goes into why you shouldn't bring your woman to another man for spiritual guidance or spiritual counseling, right? These are the things that sometimes tend to happen, right? Now, Pastor Doll is a man, and just like any man, all men are attracted to, all heterosexual men, beautiful women, and things tend to happen when you're around women, even when you're around ones that don't belong to you, which is why you are not supposed to be hanging out around women that don't belong to you. All right, it is what it is. And then with him being the head of this camp, hey, women are attracted to power. It's just the way things are. Now, let's go into I don't really know the details, but from what I understand, this woman was going to this man for counseling, and somehow they end up hooking up, all right? And I know he got more than one wife, which is completely lawful. And as long as it's a grown woman, 20 and up, and whatever, that's their business, all right? It's completely lawful. Now, this is Matthew, the 5th chapter, and I'm gonna start at the 27th verse, all right? All right, and we're just gonna go through a few of these laws of marriage, all right? And you gotta understand, just cause a leader tries to say something, they don't make it right. And let's just start off with adultery is, all right? Now, you heard that it said before, do not commit adultery, all right? But I tell you, everyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in their hearts. And just to clear up, this is going to look at a woman who is married or already promised to be betrothed to another man. That's adultery, all right? It's not just looking at any woman, but it's a woman that belongs to another man in a lustful manner. All right, because that's confusing to a lot of guys, because you like, dang, I'm looking at these women lustfully, but if the woman is not um taken, it is not a sin. It's only a sin to look at a married woman in a lustful manner, or a woman that's promised to be married to someone in a lustful manner. All right, if your right eye causes you to sin, if your right eye causes you to sin, gouge it out and throw it away. For it's better that you lose one part of your body than your whole body to be thrown into hell. If your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. For it's better that you lose one part of your body, then your whole body to go into hell. Pretty much whatever is causing you to be weak in this thing, in this walk, you let go of it. All right? And this is what it said about divorce. It was also said, whoever divorces his wife must give her a written notice of divorce. All right? This is what it was said in the past. This is what Yahushua said. But I tell you, everyone who divorces his wives, except in a case of sexual immorality, causes her to commit adultery. And whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery. I mean, it can't get no plainer than that. All right? Pastor Dow married the divorced woman, and the Lord, Yahushua himself, said, if you marry a divorced woman, you commit adultery. Even though the woman wasn't with her husband no more. She was divorced, and her husband is still alive. It's that plain. And let me just read that verse again. But if I tell you, everyone who divorces his wife, except in case of sexual immorality, causes her to commit adultery. And whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery. All right. So this was pretty much open and shit. Wasn't really too hard. Alright, and I'm just gonna read a little more, even though it's not really on this subject, just about oaths. Again, you heard that it was said to our ancestors, you must not break your oath, but you must keep your oath to the Lord. And when you marry a woman, you are making an oath between you, that woman, and the Lord. So this is saying you got to keep your oath to the Lord. But I tell you, don't take an oath at all, either by heaven, because it is God's throne, or by the earth, because he is the footstool, or by Jerusalem, because he is the city of the great king. Do not swear by your head, because you cannot make a single hair white or black, but let your yes mean yes and your no mean no. Anything more than this is from the wicked one. Alright, so it's the devil trying to trip you up. But he say when you must not break your oath to the Lord. Alright, so you are breaking an oath to the Lord by marrying a divorced woman. And we got to understand that the laws of marriage are more stricter for a woman than for a man. All right, and this is why the Lord took away the right for a man to get rid of his woman. All right, now they can still divorce, but the man can't get rid of the woman. All right, now see, I'm gonna get Sirach, the 25th chapter, and Sirach, the 25th chapter, and I'm gonna start somewhere. This I'm gonna start at the 12th verse. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of his love, and his faith is the beginning of cleaving unto him. All right, so you gotta fear the Lord to begin to cleave to him. All right, give me any plague but the plague of the heart, and any wickedness but the wickedness of a woman. All right, so this is why you gotta be very careful of which women you marry. All right, because through the Lord's eyes, you can't put away your wife unless she sleeps with someone else. All right, in any affliction but the affliction from them that hate me, in any revenge but the revenge of enemies. There is no head above the head of a serpent. There is no wrath above the wrath of an enemy. I would rather dwell with a lion and with a dragon than to keep house with a wicked woman. Alright, so he said he'd rather be with wild animals than have to live in the house with a wicked woman. The wickedness of a woman changes her face and darkens her countenance like sackcloth. Her husband should sit among neighbors, and when he hear it, should sigh bitterly. Cause you got a wicked woman, everyone gonna be talking and mocking and talking about you behind your back, alright? Because the wickedness of that woman brings shame to the whole family, alright? Her husband should sit amongst his neighbors, and when he hear it, should sigh bitterly. Our wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. Let the portion of a sinner fall upon her. As the climbing of a sandy way is to the feet of an age, so is the wife full of words to a quiet man. Some are not at the beauty of a woman and desire her not for pleasure. So pretty much make sure your woman got her head on straight. A woman, if she maintains her husband, is full of anger, imprudence, and much reproach. Right? A wicked woman abides the courage, makes a heavy countenance, and woundeth the heart. A woman that will not comfort her husband in distress makes his weak hands and feeble knees. Of the woman came the beginning of sin, and through her we all die. So these wicked ideas that came into man's head came in through the woman. You know, the angel gave it to the woman brought it to Adam. Get it water no passage, neither a wicked woman liberty to gather about. Alright. If she goes not as thou wouldst have her, cut her out from thy flesh and give her a bill of divorce and let her go. So pretty much what they're saying is the woman don't want to do right, she don't want to be with you, she want to leave, you can give her the bill of divorce. But the man can't get rid of the woman. Because the laws of marriage are much harsher for the woman. Because a woman ain't allowed to remarry. A man can remarry. Alright? So a man can go get another wife. A woman is not allowed to remarry unless her husband dies. And what this does, this cuts down on all the confusion that you see in Babylon the Great with the stepdaddies and 2-3 men supposed to be over the same children and all this other foolishness that you see going on. You don't have it when you do this way. All right? Any law that the Lord made for a reason. And this gets rid of all that foolishness. All right? And yes, a man can remarry, but a woman can't remarry unless her husband dies. Alright, that is the correct way to do it. Now this is 1 Corinthians, the 7th chapter, and I'm just gonna start at the top, even though the point is somewhere under the 10th verse. Alright, now in response to the malice you wrote about, it is good for a man not to have sexual relations with a woman. But because sexual immorality is so common, each man should have sexual relations with his own wife, and each woman should have sexual relations with her own husbands. And this is not saying that you can only have one wife or one husband. I mean, a man can only have one wife. This is just saying that a man can't be messing with nobody else's wife. You can't be swinging. You can't be wife swapping. You know, all that stuff Esau into. Right? You got to keep your own wife, and a wife got to stick with her husband. Alright, and a woman does get only one husband, alright? Unless the one she got dies, then she can remarry. Alright? And because a husband can sleep with another woman and not break the vows of marriage, it doesn't work that way for a wife. Alright? That whole thing, you sleep with somebody in marriage, that is the husband's only way to getting rid of the wife. Alright? The wife still can't go nowhere, even if the husband sleeps with someone else. And that's why it is very important for a woman to pick out someone who's the right man, because the laws of marriage through the Lord are stricter for the woman than for the man. Right? A husband should fulfill his marital duties to his wife, like wives a wife to her husband. A wife does not have the right over her own body, but her husband does. In the same way, a husband does not have the right over his own body, but his wife does. Do not deprive one another, except when you agree for a time to devote yourself to prayer, then come together again. Otherwise, Satan might tempt you because of your lack of self-control. So that goes into like the Sabbath, or if you're fasting or something like that. That is the only time that you're supposed to be denying your wife if you're a man, or your husband if you're a woman. All right. I say this as a conscious, not as a commandment. I wish that all people were as I am, but each his own gift from Yahweh. One person his gift, and another has that. So pretty much he's saying He's saying it's not as a commandment if you can go without a woman, but without a spouse is good. But he said no, he said that part wasn't a commandment. But how the rest of these are commandments. A word to the unmarried woman. I say to the unmarried and to the widow, it is good for them if they remain as I am. But if they do not have self-control, they should marry, since it is better to marry than to burn. Right? And that means than to fill your heart with lust. Right? And to always be thinking about it. It's better for you to go ahead and marry, get that out your heart. That way you can get back to concentrating on the Lord. All right? And about married people, all right? To the married, I give this commandment, not I, but the Lord. A wife is not to leave her husband. What, Pastor Dawg? A wife is not to leave her husband. But if she does leave, she must remain unmarried. Alright? So, and I know pastors that don't understand. It's not just Pastor Dawg. I know a lot of pastors who are married to divorced women. And that is adultery. Alright? If she does not leave, she must remain unmarried or be reconciled to her husband. So, things only begin to look badder and worse when you try to justify something that you're wrong about. This woman already been married. She already had a husband. You weren't supposed to take her. And it's just that simple. There's plenty of other women that you probably could have chose from who haven't had a husband yet, but you went with the one that you weren't supposed to be getting with. And it's simple. And when we try to justify wrong, sometimes it only makes us look worse. When it would just be a much better look to just admit I was wrong, and just come at it the right way. And not just to man, but to the Lord, right? Reconcile to a husband. And a husband is not to divorce his wife. But I, not the Lord, say to the rest, if any brother has an unbelieving wife and she is willing to live with him, he must not divorce us. All right. So this is going into one person being in the faith and another person not. Also, if any woman has an unbelieving husband and he is willing to live with her, she must not divorce her husband. For the unbelieving husband is made holy by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is made holy by the husband. Otherwise, your children will be unclean. But as it is, they are holy. But if the unbelievers leave, let him leave. Let him leave. A brother or a sister is not bound in such cases. All right. Yahweh has caused you to live in peace. Why, for all you know, you might save your husband. Husbands, for all you know, you might save your wife. All right. So it's an unbeliever. All right. So now you cannot take your brother's wife that's in his truth. Even if they got marital problems, they separate, they going through counseling, you cannot take your brother's wife that's in his truth. That is adultery. All right? You see, Joseph ran out the house without his coat to get away from his master's wife, to stay away from adultery. All right? That is best to flee from it. And it's definitely not a good look. You being a pastor trying to find ways to twist the scriptures to make something fit that clearly ain't going to be there. I mean, this is clearly wrong. Right? There's no way for him to twist this or try to make this any different. You can't marry a divorced woman. Yes, a man can get divorced and remarried, but a woman can't. A woman either got to stay by herself or return to her husband, and that is described the scriptures is written. All right, and like I said, a man shouldn't be having his woman around any other man learning these scriptures. You supposed to be the head of your household. Everything supposed to begin and end with you in your house. All right. So I'm always been against, you taking your woman to another man for him to guide and lead her and be her priest. It's all right for you to go and get guided and led by this man, if he's further in the truth than you is. But you do not take your woman to any man. All right, that just stays in your household. You don't need your woman looking up to any other man. And Pastor Dog, you are just completely wrong, man. Like I say, sometimes it's best just to admit you're wrong than to keep trying to justify something that I'm pretty sure he already knows he's wrong too. You know what I'm saying? He just don't want to say it because of his position, but and it's been called out and so public, but it ain't no way this man don't understand that this is wrong. So I'm gonna end this one right there, and with that, I'm gonna say shalom.